Okay, I definitely have it on one window, but I'm slightly confused. Sorry everyone, it's been a while since I've done anything like this, so gonna need to get back into the swing of it real quick. Hang on, let me make sure the audio is working too. Alright, yeah, we should be fine. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm back trying to get into the streaming. But I've been away for a while, cause it's been a last hectic few months. Some good things came up, some bad things came up. I've had to do work on my computer, and I still have to do a lot of work on my computer, so hopefully I'll be able to get more into this. I have a strict schedule I'm working on. So once all that's under control, I should be doing a stream once or twice a week from now on, hopefully. But don't hold your breath, I still gotta get back into the swing of this, get used to it, and work out a better schedule. But anyway, you're not here to listen to me babble about me. So I just got back from the How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World Fandango event, which How to Train Your Dragon is coming out, I want to say the 22nd nationwide, but Fandango recently just did a pre-screening for it, and I was actually lucky enough to get a ticket to that and make it down today. So, How to Train Your Dragon, the DreamWorks franchise. I've never read the books. I'm going based solely on the movies and the TV show, and the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, that is definitely my favorite DreamWorks film series. And sorry about if my voice is a little straggly tonight. Tired. Try and fix this. Yeah, so the newest one, How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World, that's supposed to be the finale to the trilogy. But I just got back from this film and I don't really know what to say. It's amazing, so go see it. And I'm gonna try not to get into... Well, I'm going to avoid spoilers. I'm just going to give my first impressions. I won't go into too much details or give away too much about the plot, because I'll be seeing this again come the end of February, because the screening was just a standard theater, and I definitely want to see this film in IMAX in 3D. But this was a damn good film. Sorry, one sec. Need my water. Yeah, this was a very visually beautiful, very well written, very well acted film. And it's actually been a good few months for films. Last December I saw Bumblebee, Aquaman, and Spider-Verse. I haven't had a chance to talk about those. But it's off topic. Yeah, there's so much to actually enjoy about the How to Train Your Dragon film out right now. I'm just gonna call it Hidden World. I'm rambling. And there are basically 3 elements I'm just going to talk about that I feel I can talk about without giving away too much. And the first one, this is one of my biggest things, like the visuals are easily the best out of all 3 movies, and it's actually saying a lot because the other 2 Dragon films, they had beautiful artwork and beautiful animation to them. But this Hidden World, it just knocks it out of the park with so much like fine detail and so much development on top of the artwork from before. Like, and you also see so much going on. Like Berk, the home country of the Vikings, of the main characters, it looks nothing like it did in the original films, but it's so massive and beautifully detailed and purposefully structured to work with the society that it's breathtaking to look at. And that's not even the only place in this film. There's a lot of flying scenes, there's a lot of creative design and original designs. There's a lot of beautiful colors and lighting going on in the film, which again, a huge reason I need to go see this on an IMAX screen with 3D, because this will look amazing in IMAX 3D. And again, another huge thing about this film is just the scale of everything is up. It's much grander than it's been before, where there's so much like going on and there's so much detail in every part of it. And I could actually watch this movie 100 times and I'd probably still be missing something. But all the dragons, so you have Toothless, the Night Fury, there's Stormfly, Hookfang, and although all these different species of dragons are so well designed and so unique that even when there is a huge flock or horde of dragons, which there are quite a few, you can still identify each and every different dragon, each species, each color, and you can point out all these very fine details going on with the dragons. And again, not just the dragons, but the Vikings, the environments, they're very well designed with so much detail, and a lot of the details aren't just aesthetic, they actually serve a purpose in reference to the world they inhabit. Again, not giving away too much here, because this is basically explained very early on, like, it's actually like the first 5 minutes, but all the Vikings now have these specially designed armor that are made out of their dragon scales, and they're each designed after the dragon they ride. And the reasoning for that is that the dragon scales are resistant to the fire. And it's a very light material but very strong material at the same time, so it makes total sense that they would want to make the armor out of the scales. And the detail into the armor and how it works, it's very technically well made to the point where you have no doubt that this could actually be made. And the film also takes time to show you some more of the technical designs going on in this world. They show you why this design doesn't work, they show you why this design will work, why like they give hints on how things are designed, which again they did that in the second film too, but I feel it's to a higher extent the second time around, or in Hidden World. Then the second thing I'd like to talk about is the acting going on in the film, which these, again, the Dragon films from DreamWorks always have had really good acting and a really great killer cast. And then here you watch it, they're at the top of their game. They are just as good as they've ever been. And they've even shown like a lot of growth and a lot of chemistry in between the cast. Like there's reactions between Hiccup and Astrid, which again they've had great chemistry before, but here it feels really grown. Like you believe that these characters are actual characters who interact and have known each other for years, because it feels very genuine when they're talking to each other about it. And how's the video going? Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure it's playing alright. Yeah, it looks alright. And then, anyway, and it's not just those characters' interactions. There's a lot of great interactions between the entirety of the cast, where Tough Nut, one of the twins, has a lot of moments with Hiccup, which we haven't really seen that too much in the films before. We've seen it some in the animated series on Netflix, and it was on Cartoon Network, but it hasn't been to like this extent or this development, and their reactions and how they play off each other is not only really genuine, but really entertaining to watch. Where we believe this is how these characters would act to one another. And it's so entertaining to watch, just seeing how different characters react to each other too. Like Snot Loud has several interactions excuse me, but he has anyway, Snot Loud, the shorter, stockier character, look it up. I mean, people watching this might know, but I'm not sure. But Snot Loud, one of the main characters, he has interactions with Aaron and Hiccup's mother, who were introduced in the second film, and it's a genuinely entertaining reaction between these three characters and how these three play off each other. So, not only that, but the newcomers, the villains of this film, like, their chemistry with the main cast is also really damn good. In that they're, again, the biggest problem I can think of when I think of the Dragon films is that they've never really had a strong villain, or at the very least a very memorable and impactful villain. Which, again, the first one was just a giant dragon. The second one, I don't remember his name, but there was the barbarian that took control of an alpha dragon. And again, they were served what bleh, bleh, can't talk tonight. But they served their purpose for the film, whereas here the main villain, Gorin, I think that's his name, not making a good case for myself, but he's easily the best villain they've had, and he's the most interesting and enjoyable to watch in all these films because of the relationship and how he reacts to the main character, Hiccup. And where he's not a massive brute or a very straight up powerful enemy like the other two. What makes him very threatening is just how cunning and tactful he is, and how he goes about to fight the main characters. And what really makes him interesting is, or really entertaining to watch, is just how much of a similarity there is between Hiccup and him. Which, again, trying to avoid any, like, specific details about the character, because I don't want to spoil this film. Go see this film, because it's amazing and worth seeing in the theater. But he's brought in by these dragon trappers. Again, not revealing too much. This is the first 5 to 10 minutes I will reveal stuff shown in that. But he is shown to be hired by these group of villains who have been hunting down and trapping dragons to make an army. And what makes him so threatening is just he's so confident in how he approaches fighting Hiccup and Burke that he almost seems like he's always one step ahead of everyone else. And it shows this when, early on, when he first attacks, he's not going straight for the kill or straight for an attack. He's going for psychological warfare. He wants to put everyone on edge and manipulate them into thinking that the decisions they make are their decisions, when really he's basically moving. It's again, can't talk tonight. It's essentially a game of chess where he's making all these calculated moves against Burke in order to force them to go down this specific path or make all these decisions he wants them to make, while making it seem like they're coming to these decisions all their own. And it's really interesting to see, or really fun to watch, because it's so threatening in how not powerful he is, but just how smart and calculating he is. And a huge reason why this villain works so well is because he shares so much common ground with Hiccup, and there's so much about both their origins or backstories that share similarities that it's really almost like Hiccup is fighting himself to an extent. The only difference is the path that this character took or the decisions they made caused such a difference in the path they ended up going down that it's almost kind of horrifying in that regard. But sorry, hang on. And I'm trying to think of what I can say without giving too much away. Because, again, now with all that said, again, this is a very well-made movie, in that it's very well-written, very well-acted. I do have a couple complaints, which, again, everyone will have complaints regardless of the film. And when I bring these up, I'm not trying to badmouth the film. It's an amazing film to go see. But I do have a few nitpicks, and my biggest problem, this is gonna sound like a weird complaint to have, but it's a good one, and I think my biggest issue, or my only real issue with this film, is that it's kind of short, or at least it feels very short, with just how massive this film is. Because going back to what I said before, like, everything is scaled up from the previous films. The characters, the environments, and just the overall story are on a much grander level. And the film is not all that long. I think it's an hour 40 minutes, maybe? I'll have to look that up. Give me one sec. Doo-dee-doo. That's a budget. What's the runtime? Yeah, it's about an hour 40 minutes, but it's such a massive film. It really could have done with an extra 20 minutes or half hour, because there are so many characters and so much going on that some things feel underdeveloped. Like, again, going back, like when I was talking about the whole character interactions and how all of them have grown from what they were in the previous films, as great as it was in this film, in The Hidden World, I would have really liked to see more time dedicated to these characters reacting and to their relationship. Like, even just 10 minutes would really help, because, again, a lot of characters have great interactions with each other. Like, Snotlout and Aaron have several interactions, but they're all very short and very quick little things. And I would have liked more time dedicated to those interactions to help make it feel more, like, complete. It almost feels like this movie was rushed at certain points. And, again, that's kind of forgivable given just how huge this cast really is. Because you don't just have the main characters, you have the main characters, the villains, each of their dragons do actually have a huge enough presence and a defined enough personality where I would actually really like just seeing more time dedicated to them interacting with each other. And on top of that, I honestly would like a little more breathing space in between these moments. Because, again, and this isn't to say this film did any of this poorly, but because there's so many events going on that we move directly from one to the other, and it's almost instant where we don't see a real impact on the characters. Which, I can't give too much of an example without giving it away, but let's just say, like, the climax is a good example, because in the original film, it's, honestly, I'm pretty sure it's like a callback to the original film, in where the climax was built up after the second act, and there was a lot of tension being built, and it was slower to the actual climax. Whereas here, once the second act wraps up, we jump immediately into the climax, like not even 2 minutes after. Which, again, is kind of unavoidable when you only have so much time in the film and there's so much to address. But because it jumps straight from event A into event B, it ends up feeling rushed or like edited down to where we're actually missing character development, or where we could have a lot more character development and we'd be able to get away with that because there are just so many characters here with defined personalities. And a good way to reference this is with Avengers Infinity War, and how that movie was basically 90% third act, where you jump straight into the action and you almost never leave the action. It goes straight from action event A to action event B without any waiting. But that film, I feel, but Avengers gets away with it better because A, you have a lot of different action scenes or events happening that are not connected to each other, so we're cutting back and forth between all these different characters and all these different events that, again, are connected but aren't necessarily part of the same sort of story. They're all their own story that ends up colliding and merging in the end into one story. Whereas in Hidden World, it's just one story with a lot of action events, but we're jumping straight forward, so it's not cutting away to other characters doing this, it's just the same set of characters doing it. And the other reason it works better in Infinity War is because there has been a lot more development of these characters individually, where, again, they've had the movies and the TV show, which, again, to be fair, I have not finished the TV show. I'm actually still not done with the second season, and there's 4 more seasons after that. So, for whatever that's worth. But for people who are just going in for the movies, the 2 films split between 4, 5, 7 to 10 characters, depending on how you look at this, have not had nearly as much time devoted to each individual character as much as the Marvel Cinematic Universe has, because each of these characters has had their own, at least one of their own movies, or even then up to 3 movies each character. So we have so much going on for the Avengers that they're completely fleshed out to the audience, whereas in Hidden World, yeah, we've seen them and we've had a lot of fleshing out an interaction with these characters, but almost none of them individually, and you could definitely get away with adding more personality to these characters. Which, again, I want to repeat, that isn't to say that these characters do not have a lot of time devoted to them or are not fleshed out well. They are, definitely. But you could have done so much more to flesh them out, or devoted more time to each character and how they interact with one another. And I feel that would only increase how much investment we have. And given that we already have a lot of investment with these characters, that's would be really impressive. But for what we got, it is very well done and very great. And then, I have two other minor complaints, which these are more just me being nitpicky. So, basically my first complaint is just the ending of the film. Again, I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to tell you what happens, although most people can figure out what happens just by knowing it's the final film. But without going into details or spoilers, the resolution is that the Vikings and Dragons make this decision on what to do in the end. And again, going back to either the TV show and the films or just the films, we've seen a lot of world building, and we've had a fleshed out idea of the world outside of Berk. And given that we have this idea and this knowledge of how the rest of the world is currently working within this film, it makes the final decision by the main characters more questionable as to A, if this is really going to work the way they expect it to, or B, just if this will work in the context of the world they themselves have established. And hang on. And I'd be like, again, this is much more a nitpick on my end than anything, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't immediately question this aspect, because I did. And give me one sec, because I just want to make sure the video was still running. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, okay. So, the ending decision, there's a lot, at least from my perspective, or the perspective I have, there's enough to it, at the very least, question this decision and how good of a decision or even effective of a decision it's going to be in the end. And I know that sounds very vague and makes no sense, but I really don't want to spoil anything in this film for anyone. And then my second minor nitpicky complaint is just, let's see, how can I say this? I guess I would have liked to see more dramatic, the action and the flying, while what we do get is very good, I would have liked to see more of it, or at least a much more dramatic or grander sort of excitement to it, where we do have a couple really great flying scenes or really great action scenes, but they're fairly short-lived. Where a lot of the film, even though all this... how do I explain this without making it confusing? Yeah, okay. Even though, like I said before, a lot is going on in this film, and a lot of it is basically just massive event A straight to massive event B. These massive events, while important and huge, aren't very visually pageant or dramatic, where it's similar to the It's almost like the original Ghostbusters when they fought ghosts, even though it was these huge events or these huge effects. Not much is really going on in that context. Where there are a lot of these major events are actually paced kind of slower or subtler. Where there aren't all these major flips or all these huge epic firefights, which again there are a couple, don't get me wrong. But those moments are far in between, and a lot of the actual action doesn't take up too much of the film, which that's totally fine. It's really much more of a character film once you actually sit down and watch it, and that's a great thing to see. But again, it's similar. The best way to describe it is, instead of watching a boxing match, you're watching a chess game. And while it's still very entertaining to watch, like, I would have really liked to see more dragon flying scenes, or much more action scenes involving the dragons. Because actually a lot of the action scenes don't involve the dragons, which again, that is fine, and that actually does work into the story itself. I'm not gonna give anything away, I know I keep saying that, but yeah, that actually does. There's a reason that there aren't that many action scenes with the dragons. And I get it from like a narrative perspective as to why you would want to do that, but again, the fanboy in me would just love to see more action scenes with the dragons. Seeing them fly around or fighting in the air is usually the highlight of these films. And while there are a couple beautiful flying scenes, the dragons actually play a much softer role in the film. And I don't know, I would have just... Again, basically my biggest problem is this movie should have been like another half hour to dedicate to the action and the characters. Which, again, to be fair, that it is still... they still do have a lot of time, enough time dedicated to them, but they could have had more. And if my major complaint is I want more of the film, want more of a film that I acknowledge as great, that's a very good place to be. See, how long have we been running? About 38, 40 minutes. I'll go a little longer. Which... yeah, so the dragons the dragons do sort of take a back seat or backstage to the Vikings in this film, which, from a narrative standpoint, that is totally fine and totally understandable. But just as a stupid fanboy, I would have liked to see even more time spent with the dragons. But you can make a very strong and sound argument that the dragons aren't supposed to be the main characters in this story. And honestly, going on that, I would say the twins are the main characters of this film. Because the twins, Rough Nut and Tough Nut, they have a lot of great moments in this film. And they probably have the most development out of all the cast. Excluding Hiccup, the main character, but that's sort of to be expected. But of the supporting cast, they definitely have the best moments dedicated to them and the most development dedicated to them. Which isn't to say that the other character... Actually, yeah. I would say that everyone well, the main characters and the twins have more development than the others. But again, that I'm just looping around, speaking about it. About the same issue the only issue I have with this film. But no, anyway, final thoughts, just go see this film when it comes out. Give this film your support. It's really entertaining, it's beautiful to watch. I would definitely, even though I only saw it on a standard screen, I would definitely recommend seeing this film in 3D or even IMAX if you can. Because it'll definitely be worth it. And I myself will be going back once it's out to see it in IMAX. Because it is just such a stunningly beautiful film that it is worth seeing twice, in my opinion. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm kind of sad this is the end of the films, which, yeah, I'm not sure, which I've heard that a lot before. And even then, this isn't even the first DreamWorks film to say it's gonna be the final movie. You do have a new movie start being made, like Shrek is getting a new film made, and although that's not DreamWorks anymore, actually, that's, who was it? It wasn't Blue Sky, I think it's Illumination, or Sony. I'm not sure, but again, I don't think, even if this is the final Dragons film, I don't think that DreamWorks is going to be done with this franchise yet. Because they have had the animated series before, they'll probably work on more episodes of that. Which I would be totally for. I still have a lot to watch of it. Yeah, so once this film comes out, please go see it. I want this film to be successful. Like, and honestly, if I haven't seen, I would actually, on a personal level, again, since I just saw it, I can't say for certain because I'm still gonna be on the honeymoon effect for a couple days after I just see a film, so I need to have some time to distance myself from when I first see it to actually form a detailed opinion. But going off what I think and feel now, I would say personally that, hang on, excuse me, but anyway, going off what I feeling or think now, I'd say this is the best movie I've seen in months and all year, which I would definitely say it's better than Bumblebee or Aquaman, which were also good films, and I would argue that it's better than Into the Spider-Verse, but again, I have a very strong bias just having come off from seeing this movie right away, as well as the fact that I have such a strong connection to How to Train Your Dragon series, which, and to be fair, I have a strong connection with Spider-Man too. And again, I would have to have some time between this and then preferably watch the films back to back before I can actually form a well thought out opinion on which one is better. But going off of right now, I would make the argument that How to Train Your Dragon Hidden World is the stronger film, not I wouldn't say it's drastically better, because both films are amazing. But for right now, I feel that. Yeah, so I should probably get going. I've been here 45 minutes. And I'll just rush to the end of the stream here. Give you... Alright, so yeah. And I'll post a fuller speed draw, like a 2-minute rush of this, and at a later date. And this isn't even the final product, what I'm drawing here. This is just a quick, like, hour speed paint or speed draw I did before work last night, so that I can actually play this in the background while talking about the film. But I'll post a video at a rush later, and then I'll have the finished artwork on one of my sites, which there are links below to my Instagram or my Twitter. So yeah, anyone who stopped to listen to this, thanks for listening to my ramblings. If you're interested in seeing some of my artwork, please feel free to check out the links below, and if you want to see me talk about more films or watch one of my art casts, please subscribe. I'm always happy to get any new subscribers or watchers on any of my accounts. But yeah, this is basically just me getting back into the groove of doing a stream, and hopefully I'll have a schedule plan or a more thought out way of doing my streams soon. Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. But anyway, thanks to anyone who stopped by for this, and I'll catch you all later, so take care.